There's this idea that we get from a lot of people who say that they want to change, but they're not willing to pay the price for change, which is to go all in, meaning to put your whole self in a blender and see what rises to the top.
So that's kind of been my advice to people. It's like, okay, well, stop waiting for some magical thing to happen where you just suddenly want to not watch porn anymore. It's like, at what point will you stop wanting to watch porn? It's not going to happen. You have to decide.
Welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy. Legacy? Yeah, holy moly. The podcast dedicated to helping you navigate these hypersexualized times. You know, how many times have I given that intro? At least 260. I don't know. Where are we? What's happening? Anyway, today's episode is all about giving 100% of yourself to the process of sexual integrity, but to the things in life that you really care about. That's the only way to make the necessary leap from where you are to where you want to be. You can't half-heart it. I censored myself, you see that? And Benjy and I unpack this idea of going kind of 90%, 95% versus going 100%. It's a world apart. There's a very big difference. Most of us don't go all the way. We don't finish what we start. We don't do things with 100% conviction and 100% execution. We stop short, and there's reasons for that. And if you want to know why we do that, and if you want to know how to do life with 100% of your heart, then please tune in. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Benjy. Japanese Benjy. If you can feel it, Benjy's becoming more Japanese by the day. He's just super polite these days, and he's a different man now that he's been hanging out with his people. How are you, Benjy?
I'm feeling it. I am feeling Japanese, just like you say. I'm just hanging out here, and my inner Japanese is coming out day by day. I'm actually becoming more American now that I'm here, I think, because it's like my kind of Western side is trying to push back against, conforming to Japanese ways. So I'm becoming more outspoken and loud and obnoxious here in Japan.
And this is why the world hates America. We're not definitely. It's like I cannot think of, like, water fits into a glass, any glass, a little glass, a big glass, it's fine. But like a dog doesn't fit into a glass. And I feel like this is a terrible analogy, but Americans definitely are a lot less malleable and fit into a lot less things because we're kind of set in our ways a little bit.
Yeah. Well, to be clear, it's not like I'm going around talking on my phone all the time in the subways. It's more just I feel like there are certain times where being American is necessary here in Japan for the sake of people. Let me explain.
Yeah.
All right. We just had our workshop. We just had our world tour event in Kumamoto, Japan, right? And these people are coming to an event that is kind of like underground. It's not happening in a church. It wasn't officially, sanctioned by the church. So we had to promote it and organize it and get people and get our own venue, right? So we got there and so we had about 40 people show up to this event that kind of heard about it, more so word of mouth, not from church leaders, right? So you can imagine the people that show up to this kind of thing are the really more serious people about this kind of stuff. No one's asking them to show up. No one is, persuading them or any sense. So when we were speaking, when I gave the talks to these Japanese members, I really, really felt like I have to be American. I cannot be Japanese because they're coming here for a High Noon experience. All right. And the High Noon experience is not one in which we're polite and we kind of, we what is sugarcoat things, beat around the bush. But no, like we're direct, we're excited. We say it how it is. Right. And so in those moments, I feel like American energy is really needed at this time, not all the time, just times to be Japanese, which I think I My wife reminds me politely, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine you showing up with a bunch of fireworks and just guns, a lot of guns, big hats, big
Yes.
loud hats with statements on them, like kapow, things like a big belt
Mhm.
buckle, you know,
Yeah.
Benjy went full American. Yeah, no, there are times in this world, and this is, I mean, I think this ties in. We'll get to that, but yeah, I've spent exactly half my life in America, half my life in Canada. So my initial wiring was fully Canadian, and then I had to really adjust. And now I have two dials, and I need to turn up one or the other. Like apologizing for nothing randomly, like that's the most Canadian thing I could possibly do. And in many situations, it disempowers me, and it's just like, why am I apologizing for my existence? That's the essence of Canadians. They walk into a room and they say sorry, and you don't even know why. Like, for what? What are you talking about, right? But every once in a while, it does de-escalate stuff. So, um, yeah, there's sometimes the need to fit in and to be malleable, and other times when you need to shout from the mountaintops. And God needs both, right? So, um,
For sure.
today, everybody, we wanted to talk about the. I was like, let's forego the segue and just storm forward. Um, there's this idea that we get from a lot of people who say that they want to change, but they're not willing to pay the price for change, which is to go all in, meaning to put your whole self in a blender and see what rises to the top, right? See what to keep, see what to let go of. And because of that, people never gain the benefit of having massive quantum leaps in their sexual integrity. They never get to fully transform because they always hold a little part of them. And there's a very big difference between like 95% and 100%. And I
Mm.
think that there's so few occasions in this life because there's so many unknowns that we afford ourselves the opportunity to go all in on something, right? I think most people at this point have different side projects, either just for interest, or for an extra income, and that's always kind of like in the background, and and you can never really give yourself to that. I think when you're a parent, you lose your ability to have a hobby for a period of time, and so you just feel really fractured. And so I wanted to unpack that, Benji. Like, if you could imagine
Yeah.
the people that go through our programs, how many of them do you feel go all in? They say, okay, I want everything you got. Sign me up for everything. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to give myself to this process. What percentage of people do you think that sign up actually have that mentality?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the exact numbers, but I can tell you when I'm very certain someone is like that. I was just talking with a brother who was at one of our events in the world tour events, and he was having a call with me after one of the workshops, and he had been going through some dark times, in his life, and his behaviors and his porn habit, right? And he's kind of taken a break from Heinun, as he calls it, and then he kind of came back, and it was a beautiful redemption story because he really felt like I have to get all my shadows out, and he just kind of shared every last detail he could think of for like an hour. He was sharing with me, and and then I was like, "Is there anything else?" Right? And then he kind of just had more to share. And so after that call, I was really inspired. Personally, I was inspired because the Hainan no shadows living is quite infectious in a good way. It's so nice to hear, and it really spreads beautifully. And so when I heard that, I was like, "Man, that was like I feel like I gotta hug my wife," you know? And so I felt like that's what it looks like for people to go all in. It's not this kind of back and forth between like, oh well, how do I really get serious about quitting? You know what I'm saying? Like that in the background of a lot of
Sure.
people is this kind of decision people are waiting for it to just happen to them. Is like someday I'll be serious. And they're waiting for that kind of silver bullet to come make them serious. And what we
Hmm.
discovered is that it's more of a decision than a just process of happening magically. It's more of just saying,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to be 100% in. I'm going to just do it, and that comes in many forms. And I see it a
Mhm.
lot in terms of people's recovery, right? For me, myself, even, it's like, I remember there was a point where porn was like so occasional that I justified it saying, well, it's not terrible because it's so occasional, like that. And then I
Sure.
was really hit with a clear thought that I could not. This was at the summit, the Hainan summit, right? The clear thought I had was that I could
Mhm.
never fully 100% love my wife, actually, if it's occasional, if it's any bit occasional, right?
Sure.
And so that's me reserving that last 5% actually for me and not able to give it to my wife. And so it comes in many forms, but definitely in our programs, it's more of like a sign of someone's commitment that they're just like, there's no excuses, there's no, like, oh, when this happens, then I'll be able to be serious. It's just like, you know what, forget it. Like, I don't care what happens, I don't care how I look, I don't care if people are disappointed in me. I'm
Mm.
just gonna let it all out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's freedom. That's the naked and unashamed that we're talking about is like going all out, man. And I want to say that this has happened kind of in our world. Can't get into details, but it came to light that we have people kind of in our world that are truthful. I would say they're 100% truthful in terms of they don't lie. But in terms of their relationship with us, they're only about 80 to 85% honest because there's stuff that they want to say, but they don't. And so they haven't said an overt lie, but there's a covert lie in that they have feelings that they are justifying and they're saying, I don't want to tell them this because they'll get mad at me or whatever, whatever. And again, I know this is vague, but I just can't really get into details. But I can see that it's getting in the way of their growth. The fact that they're protecting difficult emotions from the rest of the world and that they justify it by saying they're protecting us. They don't want to hurt us or they don't, whatever. There's so many justifications. But at the end of the day, it's you're protecting kind of you're just afraid in a sense. You're afraid to go all in. And that it's interesting because like imagine you go 85%. That sounds like you're really close to the finish line. But in fact, it's like if you finish 85% of a building, nobody can move into that building because it's unsafe. It's structurally unsafe. Like eventually, let's say, okay, we just left out, the top few floors. How's that going to go when there's like a rainstorm? All the rain's going to come in and it's going to seep down and it's going to ruin the entire building eventually, right? So 85% is like you can almost kiss that 85% gone. It's protected by going all the way. And that's why we also see people who recover, but they don't go all the way. They're like good enough and then they fall right back to where they started eventually because they don't have the security of knowing they went all in. And that's how you make those quantum leaps. That's how you go from I used to watch porn to I'm not that guy anymore or girl. And there's a big difference between like, it's always
Right.
kind of in your life and, oh, that was the past version of me, iteration of me.
It's kind of like a very common conversation I've had about faith in general is people want to be convicted in something 100%, willing to die, lay down their life for something, their beliefs, right? And especially when
Hmm.
it comes to a particular faith that is very bold and straightforward, a belief in God, a belief in true parents, a belief in the blessing. And a common dilemma people face is, well, I don't believe 100%. It's like I'm 85%, 90% there. And then so when I've had these conversations with people, I've always kind of leaned on the side of like, okay, well, let's try to increase your conviction, somehow. Let's try to increase it. And I've learned over time when I've seen people that, or talked with people that have very strong conviction, and you can tell when somebody is 100% in something, they just, they carry themselves differently, They talk
Hmm.
about their differently. They don't care who is watching or who's not watching. They're unafraid to shout
Mm.
what they believe, right? And so
Yeah.
it's like for an example, if you believe that the Messiah is here, like if you're 100% convicted that the Messiah is here, like there's nothing that's going to hold you back if it's 100%. If you're like 80%,
Sure.
then it's like, well, I kind of believe it, but I'm too afraid to really share that belief with anybody, you know? And I'm just being real here. Uh, and so I really do believe now that it's not this kind of game where we're trying to just increase our conviction level to 100% what we believe. It's really just, I'm going to decide to stop being on the fence about God. I'm going to decide to stop being on the fence about my faith. I'm going to stop kind of questioning everything and just act like someone that is 100% believing in what I
Yeah.
want to believe. Right. And I think that's the most empowering and effective way to do things. And so that's kind of been my advice to people is like, okay, well, stop waiting for some magical thing to happen where you just suddenly want to not watch porn anymore. You know, is like, at what point will you stop wanting to watch porn? It's not going to happen. You have to decide. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, it's going to take time. It's like, why? It's like one of the greatest fallacies I've heard in addiction. It's like, oh, it's going to take time to quit porn. Says who? Look at
Yeah.
anyone who has ever quit any addiction ever. They have just stopped, right? It's like, oh, well, it took a lot. It's like, says who? It's just like these constant beliefs of that aren't based in any reality or just beliefs to keep a behavior, an old pattern of thinking and behaving because it's comfortable, because it's familiar. Says who?
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That last whatever. I mean, this is all arbitrary and esoteric, but last 15% or last 5% or whatever, that is your escape route in case this whole thing doesn't work. And when you have an escape
Mm,
route, then you have to see that you're in a way planning to fail, right? By creating, it's somewhat disconcerting. Let's say you're driving with somebody and they keep the door open and you're like, "Yo, why is your door open? We're on the highway." Or like, "Just in case we crash." It's like, "Well, can you just focus on like driving and just don't crash?" Like it's it's just a weird thing to drive with the door open just in case. So it's uh it's like a fear-based desire to plan for failure, even hope for the best, but actually plan for the worst. And again, this is not like life advice for all aspects of your life. I think it's that whole idea, which was really popular probably 10 years ago when Facebook videos were all the rage. And people were making a lot of motivational content. There's this idea of like you got to burn your bridges, right? Or no, you got to burn your ships, right? And Spartans and Romans became very popular. Stoics all became super popular because it was so extreme. And there's a time and place for that, right? But um, it's really important that you do go through phases of extremism. You can't live life like that. But extremism is healthy when it's intentionally done for things that you really care about. Like if you really want to get into shape, you do have to make some pretty extreme life choices to go from somebody who's out of shape to somebody who's in shape. That's like identifying as somebody who's in shape requires you to change your whole fridge situation, change your schedule, change how you eat, sleep, how you function. Like that's all very extreme. And if you really want to get super healthy, but you always keep just a pile of junk food in your pantry just in case, that's not 100%. That's not making the jump, the quantum leap from I'm not in shape to I am in shape. It's a lifestyle. And so I do believe that, again, I hope nobody clips this and just uses it against us, but to be extreme in phases when intentionally done is quite helpful. It won't resolve your issues, but it helps you to go to the next plateau. I mean, you always use the analogy of climbing a mountain, right? In terms of sexual integrity and recovery in general. And definitely when you go hiking or when you do something like that while you're on a journey, there are some points when you need to rest. And there are other points when you really want to rest, but you know that resting will just make you want to quit. So you have to push through. Okay, I'm thirsty. I don't care. I'm going to keep going. Oh, I want to rest. I don't care. I just got to get to this next plateau. That's not a good or sustainable way to live in the long run, but is necessary in calculated parts of your life in order to get to the next plateau. And then you can create a camp and rest and, acclimate to the, in the analogy for mountains, you can't just run to the top of Mount Everest because you'll get like, what is it called? Brain hextoxia or some long word with many syllables. Hypoplexia, I think something like that, where you just don't have enough oxygen because you have to acclimate yourself, and that's fine. But every journey to the next plateau does require a great deal of focus, and you have to be committed to getting there regardless of your comfort.
Yeah, there was definitely, I mean, phases of my life where extreme focus was helpful. Came with some drawbacks, right? As you can imagine, like
Yeah.
blessing, matching, marriage preparation for me from like 16 to 18 years old was a 2-year period of absolute insanity in terms of conditions and just completely, yeah, nonstop devotion. And it worked, right? It really worked. It really pulled through, but also it came with a lot of crashing down too, for me, right? Uh, so
Yeah.
I do think it's necessary at times, right?
Oh, yes. Benji here, guys. If you've benefited from this episode and you love the podcast, then please consider becoming a donor for High Noon. It is a special privilege to be a donor. If you want to donate just $10 a month or $20 a month or $100 a month, if you want some way to contribute to something really, really impactful, and you have some cash to do that, then please let High Noon be that for you. We welcome you. We are still a nonprofit, and we use all the funds to help support our programs, to change the lives of lots of people and travel the world and do epic stuff like that. So please go to highnoon.org/donate and please help us out. All right. See ya.
When you take life on, it means all of life. And that means like breathing it all in. And it can be very overwhelming, and it can leave you in a very challenged state. But that's part of this. Do you want to take the leap or not? It means looking at the whole thing. If you come back home and your home is a mess and you want to clean it, and you want to do it in like, I don't want to do this in months. I want to do this in a day. It means you got to look at all the nasty stuff. You got to open that fridge. You got to go into the bathroom. You got to go in everywhere if you want the whole house to be genuinely clean. And it's the same thing with our internal world, is if you really want to clean it up, it's going to take a great deal of gumption and willpower, but it's going to take a lot of humility, and it's going to require all of you. And that's the thing we don't have access to when we ourselves are fragmented, because we're not focused. We are multitasking, or we're not 100% all in the process. We don't have the bandwidth to process all of the things that come at us. So we start to put it to the side. That's what our digestive system does. When we eat too much random food, it can't process it all, so it puts it to the side for later. And most of us have just so much stuff stored in us because we never actually give our body the time to process it, right? But with us, with our psyche, with our spirituality, if we make it the main priority, then we will breathe it all in, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we'll process it and we'll grow very quickly. But you cannot do that if it's just like a passing fancy. Because at the first sign of difficulty, you'll be like, this is hard. And then you'll run away. And we all do that. Trust me, we all do that. It's not making light or making fun of anybody. It's like we all do that. But you have to pick your battles. And if you do want to experience liberation and freedom in the realm of sexuality, you have to take this seriously and go 100% all in at some point, right? And then there's like the maintenance phase too, and that requires different skill set. But if you want to go from you're kind of up and down and you want to just be stable, then you have to go all in. There's something that you're holding back from this journey that is preventing you from going all in. And that's what you have to let go of and just go. I'm trying to think of another term other than the one that I have in my mind of just going all in. Let's just say that. Feel me?
Yeah. There was a period of my life when I was in university when I was doing way too much stuff. Because when you were sharing, I was thinking about this period, and I do have a lot of regret about that time. I think it was necessary for the lessons I learned, but there was a time when I was a university student, and I happened to get a copy of 4 Hour Work Week, which turns some people into giant knuckleheads, which it did for me, right? And so I became like just obsessed with doing a lot of stuff. And so I tried like everything you could imagine. And I became a full-time pastor while I was a university student, while I was working, while I was starting a bunch of these side hustles, right? While I was preparing for blessing and then newly blessed. And it was just like mayhem in my mind. And I was just completely unfocused. And so the sacrifice was that I was really bad at everything, actually. I managed to get by with C's in university and somehow managed to pass fail a bunch of stuff. I don't know how I graduated, to be honest, but I just accepted. It was like, okay, I'm just going to be okay with getting C's in my classes.
Yeah.
And then somehow I graduated, and I still have nightmares where I didn't graduate and I messed something
Bro,
up.
I have those
didn't have
same
enough credits or something.
nightmares.
And yeah, the school nightmares, right?
Yeah. Well, that I just didn't pass high school. It's weird.
Yeah, it's so weird. I still have them. Anyway, so there's so many things that I wish I had just focused, like picking 2 things and just be like, I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna forget everything else, because then I would have done them with such attention and focus that they would have been so much more enjoyable, fruitful, fulfilling, and I'd just been a lot happier, because I was not happy. I was stressed. I was unhealthy, and I think it was a detriment to my experiences in life for sure.
Yeah. And in terms of life, I think people get exhausted because it does, if you want to make that quantum leap, you gotta go all in. But then people start looking forward and they're like, do I have to live like this for the rest of my life? And so they get burnt out just at the mere notion of being an extremist for their entire life. But I think it's really worth signing up for contracts with yourself for certain periods of time. Just like with a lot of phone companies. I don't know. I know many of them are abandoning this concept, but there's still some that hold true to this, where you just sign up for like a year or 2 at a time, and there's benefits to it. They'll give you benefits because they want your business for a certain period of time. And so same with yourself. Like I did this with High Noon, where I just felt like my attention had been scattered. And so I just proclaimed in front of all the staff, like, I'm going to go all in. And it was just a year of yes. And I just said yes to everything, but I was ready for it. So if you work a lot or work a little, it doesn't impact your stress levels if you have a clear focus and reason why you're doing the thing. Because you could do a lot of work, but it's focused work, so you're getting a lot of the benefits and none of those stressors, right? Stress comes from, like you're saying, when you were in college and you're scattered, you're all over the place, and you just feel like you're busy. You're just working. But that's because you've made too many commitments, and they're all half commitments, partial commitments, and you can't possibly live up to them. And that's why, like for me, signing up for High Noon is an annual thing. I don't know. I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life, but I'm going to do it 1 year at a time. And maybe that ends up being the rest of my life.
Of your life.
But yeah, it's just 1 year. All I can see is 1 year at a time. And with our programs, it's just 1 quarter at a time, 1 cycle. We call them cycles now at a time, but like, just go all in on this cycle and you will experience so many dividends from going all in. Don't worry about next cycle or the next year or anything like that. It's just like what you see in front of you, decide, do I want it or not? And if it's a yes, then go all in and don't ask questions and don't worry. Just take it on as a priority, but don't sign up for too many things at once, right? Don't like start your sexual integrity recovery journey and start a new business and want to go and like, get a gym coach and start losing 70,000 pounds or whatever. Like one thing at a time or a few things at a time that you can handle. And that's not only how you attack life, but that's how we feel really a sense of fulfillment. And we get the rewards of our efforts by doing things well, doing deep work, and doing a few meaningful things rather than many meaningless things, which is what we do. Scrolling, meaningless. Most of our friends, kind of acquaintances, not so meaningful, right? A lot of what we focus on with our job, not so meaningful. So when you're much more focused on meaning and you choose fewer things, you will do more and you will feel better about it. And so with sexual integrity, it's really important that you just sign up one quarter at a time, go all in on that quarter or cycle. And then don't worry about the rest of your life. Nobody knows what's coming at us. Just one quarter at a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. There's this really interesting thing that I've recently been observing called permanence. This desire for permanence is that we humans have a biological wire for desiring things to be eternal, right? And so if you notice, when you notice it, you really, really start seeing it everywhere. Is that when something happens or we start doing something, we immediately start thinking, okay, like how long is this going to last, or how can I sustain this or not sustain this for the rest of my life, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's helpful just to kind of know that that's it's more of like a biological ancestral thing and not really based in reality. Like being here in Japan, for example, I see my mind doing that a lot. Of like, I can't think of an example, but just like, okay, I'm eating rice and tuna every day at the convenience store, like a onigiri rice ball,
Uh-huh.
and I'm doing it every
Uh-huh.
day, right? Because it's so cheap and it's so convenient and it's good. It's so delicious, and I get like a nice iced coffee and like some meron pan bread, and I'm like, okay, this is turning unhealthy and expensive. And then I start thinking, like, how long is this going to last, right? Like, is this going to
Yeah.
last forever? I remind myself that's my mind trying to look for permanence, where in reality, we're only going to be here in Japan for a little bit. So I'm just going to enjoy it. Like, I like doing this every day. So I'm just going to keep doing that. Right.
Mm.
Permanence.
Benji's new regimen is called carbs and coffee. He's living it.
I love
Living
it.
the
It's
dream.
so good. It's so good. You should
Yeah.
see my
So
face.
I
You should see my
honestly,
face when I'm
when you're eating it, or I should see your face now because I can see
when
your
I'm eating.
face. Looks good.
No, when I'm eating the the cream puff.
Oh,
Japanese cream puffs from the convenience store. I'm just dying. I'm just dying, and I'm enjoying it.
just crying. Just like, why are you so beautiful to me?
Why-
I just wanted to say, this is a sacred act. I honestly feel it's a sacred act because it unlocks something in us when we go all in. And I think we experience it so seldom, meaning like a prayer where we're locked in, where the rest of the world doesn't exist, where we're not distracted, where we're really together with our heavenly parent, with our source of life and love and everything, right? It's seldom that we are locked into a conversation with another person where they are the most meaningful person in the world. Like the whole idea of True Father carrying that guy on his back, I think is One Pill Kim. Because if he can't save this one dude, then he can't do anything. Like that's locked into a very meaningful, intentional experience of going all in. Like, I'm going to save this dude, right? And I think we need to allow ourselves the opportunity to have the sacred act enacted in our lives of going all in on something. Again, choose wisely, but it allows you to become a different person, somebody who's marginally recognizable to yourself. We do what's familiar and we have this habit. I have it with my atheist friends, and I used to be this way too, where you laugh at those who believe in God, but you haven't ever invited God into your heart and you want God to fit into your stupid little brain. which like can barely fathom the number 1 trillion. But you want to go to infinite, and you want to fit it. You want to fit the concept of infinite into your brain through logic, right? It's like it's pathetic and stupid, right? And so, like, let's use that example. When I joined the church, I didn't believe, but my heart was telling me to go in this direction and that I had to let go of everything and anybody in order to figure out what is true, because it didn't make sense to my brain, but my heart was like, go in this direction and go all in. And so all of my friends and all my family were freaking out because I couldn't explain what was happening or why I was doing what I was doing with any, clarity. I was trying to explain it, but it didn't make sense. I'm sure it was a bunch of gobbledygook to them. They're like, okay, so basically what you're saying is you're crazy. I was like, no, just trust me. I'm going in this direction. There's something important here. And I went all in like nobody else that I had ever seen before. And I got benefits that last until this day. It's a part of my identity that I feel a deep, close resonance with my parent, with my creator, with my love, God. And it's only because I went all in. You can't incrementally, like you said, like, oh, maybe I'll just let a little bit of God in, or just like, you don't get like the Paul falling off the horse experience, the epiphanies, the revelations. If you're tepid. Jesus was very clear, don't be tepid, be hot or be cold. If you're lukewarm, I spit you out of my mouth. That's life. And most of us spend most of our life in a very lukewarm, kind of lackadaisical, lazy spirit, lazy thinking. And when you're locked in to something that's important with your heart, with your mind, with your spirit, and if you can get all of those things aligned within your body, then it's like Captain Planet, or for you, Benji, the Power Rangers. When with our powers combined, you become a superhero. And so if you want to use the Power Rangers or any of these things, that's when your heart, your mind, your body, and your spirit all are working together to do something of meaning, of purpose. You become a superhuman version of yourself. All of these shows are just like a metaphor for that. They don't even know it. I don't think the creators of Power Rangers would ever say that explanation, but it's pretty clear that we are that, right? We can be that. You can use that analogy, but it only happens when you have a clear intention, that's your mind, when your heart really believes, when your spirit is up for it, meaning it's willing to be uncomfortable, and when your body does what it's told. That's when you will unlock a new side of yourself and you will make a quantum leap in your life. And nothing short of that. Nothing short of that. There's no hacks. Because even if you get a deep spiritual experience because you're in the right place at the right time, it'll fizzle away and you will go right back to where you were. Just like, everybody in history. I mean, there are very few people that rose to the challenge, and they were saints and sages throughout history. They're anomalies. Most people, they just never leveled up. So that's your invitation, and all of us constantly. And even when you're retired, I just talked to somebody who retired a few years ago and it lasted a couple months, and now they're doing something of meaning and value because they're like, it was killing me. I wasn't growing. I wasn't doing anything. I need to constantly push myself. So it's for the rest of our lives, but it just means that there's always another level to unlock, just like a perpetual video game.
So what do you feel, Andrew, is what are you dying for? What are you living and dying for? What is if you were to put in a sentence, the thing that you are 100% all in about?
Father-son relationship. I just mentioned it in the podcast that came out last week. Every time I see anything, so that's like Interstellar. Why does Interstellar hit so hard? It's parent-child relationship, right? And I also saw this movie called Exhibiting Forgiveness, which is like, that movie destroyed me. And I was on an airplane, and so it was not the best place to have a deep emotional, spiritual experience, but can't pick those all the time. But it was about father-son. It was like the main character, his dad was a crackhead, and then he he loves his son so much. And so it's reconciling being in between like a crackhead father and a son that you want to give everything to, and how hard that is, because that's the essence of the divine principle, is how much God wanted to connect with us and we just weren't able to. And I want to help dads to be able to keep their relationship with their kids flourishing, and their wives. So that's what keeps me at a high place for myself, to stay connected with my own kids, but also to fight for that, because I think there's so much going against fathers these days, making them feel useless and worthless in a time when they really are the most valuable. The world needs them so much. What about you?
For me, it is that children feel like someone's by their side. Yeah.
Mm,
Children feel fathered. Similar, but maybe on the other side of it, that children feel like there's a father figure that cares about me. That kind of
yeah.
stuff really makes me like fiery, angry. I don't know if I know you've seen me on stage. It was in Japan, at the Japan event. Hiro-san was asking me about why I get so passionate when I speak, and he was like, "Are you angry?" Like, he's such a great guy. He asks the best questions, right? And he's like, "Are you angry?" I'm like, "Yeah, kind of." And I don't know. It's not like a self-righteous anger like you would when you're driving or like have road rage. It's like a fiery, I guess, anger and injustice, anger and just desire, like I want to shake people, kind of feeling. Like I want to shake, especially parents that are not focused on their kids. They're not giving attention to
Yeah.
their children, right attention. Like those kinds of
Yeah.
men, I want to shake them. Like, can you just wake up like this, Um, yeah, that kind of stuff is what really fires me, is that people feel loved, at the end of the day, is that children are growing up feeling loved so that they can really pass that on to their own children. And they have a desire, because people that don't feel love, man, from their parents, they're not going to have kids, or they're not going to want to have kids. They're not going to enjoy having kids. But if a child grows up in a loving home, they're going to pass that on to the next generation. And that's how lineage is beautifully flourished, and not just having children for the sake of it, right? Mm.
Yeah, for real. Hey, everybody, beware that Benjy is out there and he's willing to shake you. He has his hands at the ready to shake you at any time. No, I think that's beautiful. And I think that that kind of stuff is a part of our calling. I think the whole idea of what's your calling, what's your purpose, all that is this deep thing that, people say ikigai or all these things. Yeah, sure. I think it runs deeper than that, and I think it's multifaceted and it evolves. But when you have a reason to fight, it gives you all the necessary power, the gas in your engine to go as far as you need to go. But it starts with that sense of like righteous indignation that Benji's talking about, which is like, this is not right. And in terms of your sexual integrity, you have to find your thing. Some people are really impacted by what porn is doing to society. Let that motivate you to stop contributing to this broken thing that we have known as porn. If it's that it's hurting you and your ability to show up, then use that, right? Everybody's impacted in a different way for different reasons. But that's the fire in your belly that needs to be shoveled coal into on a daily basis, by remembering, what are you fighting for? Who are you? And I mean, just to wrap things up, there is a world apart from somebody who goes 95% and somebody who goes 100%, like we said. And the only way you can is when you have some sort of clarity, and I would call that a North Star goal. Please keep on learning how to craft the most impactful North Star goals for you. When your heart is really in it, because it resonates with a sense of meaning and purpose, that righteous indignation, but also that righteous yearning for something true, right? Our original selves that is calling to us. And then spiritually, that that you feel like power when you invest in it. It's like working extra hard on something you care about isn't draining. It gives you more energy. That's called vitality elements. These are the source of life. It's like life comes to us and works through us, and we connect to all sorts of energy that we don't have access to unless we're connected to some sort of meaning and purpose. And your body will follow suit. You will be able to do what you need to do, but only based on having clear vision, having a heart that's connected to some sense of purpose and meaning, and having a spirit that's being fulfilled. It's getting these juices from the universe. So if you ever need help, please reach out and we can help you. But other than that, we have activities on how to craft your North Star goal. We have activities on how to gain clarity in your mind, heart, body, and soul. That's what we do. Because this isn't about getting rid of porn. It's about flushing porn down the toilet so you can get back to the life that you're born to lead. And that's not possible. It's like not possible to be healthy and to drink poison at the same time. So let's just simultaneously stop drinking poison, but also start eating life. Let's start eating life together. Okay? Got any last words there? Be you.
Yeah. Please, everyone, please, figure out what you're on the fence about. What is it that's consuming your bandwidth and you're always stressed about or anxious about because you're not sure, uncertain about. And usually those are the things that you have to make clear, decisive decisions on and just go all in and be like, okay, I'm going to stop, dilly-dallying about this and just decide like I'm going to anything. It could be anything like where to live or who to marry or when to have kids or like just make a decision and just go all in. Go extreme sometimes.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for listening, everybody. If there are any technical issues, just know that the power is out in my entire block and God somehow still let me record a podcast. So thanks, Big Daddy, Big Mommy, Big Parent. Thank you for your patience, everybody. See you next week.
Hey, did you know that our team wants to do more events? Well, if you want to bring the High Noon message to your community or group, then let us know and we'll try to work something out. There's a simple application that you can fill out right now at highnoon.org/invite. And one of our team members will get back to you to see what's possible. That's highnoon.org/invite. All right, see you in the next episode.